Now, reports this week suggest that candidates who wrote the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants final board exams were left traumatised after some of them spent more than 15 hours in exam venues, writing by hand and dealing with faulty laptops and Wi-Fi connections. The exam was held on the 1st of December. It is the final step, of course, towards becoming a qualified chartered accountant. It's the end of a long journey, and it costs 15,000 Rand just to enrol for the board period, another 6,000 Rand for the exam. Let's discuss with the CEO of the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, Freeman Nomvalo. Mr. Nomvalo, thank you for being with us. What happened during these exams, and how many students were affected?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to our listeners. We decided, after a few years of running this assessment, where candidates were providing their own laptops, in this last year, that is 2021, was the first year that SAICA provided laptops for everybody. And when candidates provided their own laptops, they also provided their own connectivity. The combination of all the laptops being provided by SAICA plus the connectivity challenges that were attendant were the main causes of the challenges. Of course, some of the laptops that were hired also did not meet this. They did not meet the standards.
And why didn't you know that before?
Well, it's essentially the problem that the decisions associated with this issue were confined for no good reason to the administration staff that administers the exams. And there is no good reason why it should have been confined there. It should have been escalated.
Yeah, because they're not technical people. You're talking about technical issues.
No. You're asking me about the decision, why were we not aware of the decision higher up? And I'm saying, for no good reason, that decision was confined to the administration staff, and instead of that decision being escalated accordingly.
All right. So these computers weren't tested before. IT officials weren't around to fix the problems. That's the long and short. It was a mess for many of the students.
Well, that's the second piece. The testing did happen. It was limited testing, but also the problems identified again by the same administration staff was not escalated to the extent that they had picked up something a day or two before. So the ability to have the opportunity to respond and respond in time was not available to us until we visited the centers where they were writing in Joburg, that we picked up that there are these problems.
Okay, so it wasn't escalated to higher management. So the students that have been prejudiced by very difficult conditions, what happens now?
Our focus now, and I've just finalized the report that is going to be considered by the board. And once the board has considered that report, they will review the decision that they had already taken. You will recall that in that board decision, we had already communicated that we will be consulting various stakeholders. Most of last week was the process of that consultation. We consulted up until Friday, and we've been getting comments and suggestions and submissions up until yesterday. And I've concluded a report which takes all of those things into account, and into account some of the technicalities that we need to consider before deciding on when that rewrite will take place.
Okay, so it's definitely a rewrite. What are you recommending? Are you giving a suggested date, or what are you recommending?
Well, the recommendation to allow the board the opportunity to deliberate with it, the only thing I can say about the recommendation is that it takes into account the fact that candidates did write on the day, and therefore that must be considered. It takes into account that on the date of the rewrite, there may be other challenges like the availability of leave, like other deadlines that the companies for which the candidates work needs to be considered, as well as some of the religious rights that must be considered depending on the timing of that. The board is definitely open to the rewrite. Already the board decision that is on the table did talk about rewrite. The issue that was in contention was whether that rewrite should happen before the marking has taken place. In other words, everybody being given an opportunity to rewrite, and most candidates as well as stakeholders have raised their reservations about the wisdom of that. Now we have looked at all of the issues that they've raised, and we are putting those before the board for the board to make its determination.
Okay, so students still have to find out if they're all going to rewrite or some of them. We've got about 30 seconds. What is SAICA going to do to hold people to account if they didn't raise important issues like the computer or the Wi-Fi doesn't work for the exams? What are you going to do about those people, and what are you going to do to ensure this never happens again?
First and foremost, we have to focus our attention on helping the candidates have certainty about rewriting. And then when we've done that, follow up with the issues of accountability where necessary. And we are tightening our controls to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
All right, thank you very much. CEO of the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, Freeman Nomvalo. So unfortunately, there's so much anxiety around that exam. I know people have gone through it. To become a CA, there will be some sort of rewrite. We don't know how many students affected.